Live, this is Outsiders.
Joining us with fellow outsider, will be fellow outsider Jacinta Price, and a special treat. We also have a new Aussie hero who has decided to fight for your right to listen to who you want to listen to and your right to free speech in this country. Daniel Lewkovitz, the CEO of Calamity Monitoring, Australia's best security firm, has decided, wait for this, to deliberately put his advertising dollars where his values are. Onto the Alan Jones radio show in order to stand up against the sinister Marxist trolls who are trying to bring down Jones and others. What a legend. We'll be chatting to him shortly. But exactly. Now, speaking about advertising, you'll all be aware that there's a kind of various groups of online Twitter trolls. They're pretty miserable, most of them. In fact, when they bothered to get together outside, away from behind their computers, there's only half a dozen of them, and we'll show you a photo later of that. But we've had this campaign, particularly against Alan Jones in the last few weeks, where you've had, oh, he's terrible, he said something terrible about Jacinda Ardern, whereas in fact all he did was point out that New Zealand is not really in a position to lecture Australia about carbon emissions, but that's another story. So what has happened? You've had various rather miserable, I would say, advertising executives go, oh, we don't want to be associated with Alan Jones, we're going to walk away. Well, I'm delighted now to show you the real face of Australia, someone who is brave, someone who stands up for the values that you support, that I support, that we support here on Outsiders. That's the values of free speech, the values of differences of opinion, the values that made Australia great rather than this bullying, hectoring mentality that has taken over, particularly via Twitter. So I'm delighted to welcome to Outsiders a gentleman who has decided to put his advertising dollars onto the Alan Jones radio show to show what he stands for and what his firm stands for. Daniel Lewkovitz, welcome to Outsiders.
Thanks for having me, and such a wonderful intro.
Well, I'm very impressed. We're all very impressed. You came out last week and you said, to hell with this. I'm going to put what advertising dollars I have onto the Alan Jones show to show what my brand, Calamity Monitoring, stands for. Tell us about your brand, first of all, and how you reached that decision.
Sure. Well, Calamity is a security business. We do electronic monitoring of property, of alarm systems, but also of life safety systems. And we have a very clever fall detection system that can essentially press a button for you if you're unconscious. And it's technology that saves lives, okay? Our company, every single day, saves the lives. It helps seniors stay at home without moving into aged care. I call the people at my office heroes in a headset because they literally save people's lives. It's a fantastic company. It's a fantastic service. And I have to correct you, it wasn't so much a political statement putting advertising onto Alan Jones. We advertise across 2GB. It was a very simple commercial decision because he is the #1 broadcaster on the #1 channel to the biggest audience. So I'm a privately owned, Australian-owned business, and I'm trying to grow my business, which is good for the economy, and it's good for my staff, and it's good for my customers. And the best way to do that is to advertise to a big market. But then something interesting happened. Having made a fairly reasonable commercial decision, I would have thought, we started getting emails questioning the values of my company.
So these are these online groups. I'm not going to give them the publicity of mentioning their names because they're a bunch of sick individuals, but these are these online groups that we hear about that bombard advertisers like you with emails and tweets saying, how dare you advertise on Alan Jones or Outsiders or Sky or whoever else it is. There's lots of companies. So tell us your response to that.
Right, so bombard is correct because the first thing that we noticed is that a lot of the emails were actually word for word the same. And doing a bit of research, it turned out that some of these websites have an auto hate mail generator where you just simply type in your name and you hit send and it will blast out a sanctimonious lecturing, hectoring email to whomever. So,
Yeah, and I'm going to pick you up there because we've got a photo here we'll put up on the screen of one of those online groups which eventually came out from behind their nasty little computers.
Let's just emphasise, this gathering was talked about and promoted heavily.
There you go, advertisers. That's them. That's who is attacking you, advertisers. No, it's not thousands and thousands of great Australians. It's that miserable bunch of grubs there on the screen now who, when they got together,
each one of them's probably got 200 anonymous accounts.
Right, well, it's funny you say that because what we also notice is that some of the emails were coming from one particular individual who has a particular spelling problem.
Oh,
And I might add, is also a teacher at a public school. So he, you know, on taxpayer time is basically hassling a private business to lecture me about the values of my business. Now, he's claiming that we don't respect women. Well, we have probably more women by percentage work in my company than most security companies, in what's a pretty blokey industry. I'm a major employer of people with disabilities, and I've given jobs to some seriously underprivileged groups. And in terms of violence against women, I have a stack of thank you letters this high from women's groups, from domestic violence groups who my company has helped, who I've trained, who I've worked with. So I have to tell you, the values of my company, I am very, very proud of those, and I'm very, very comfortable about those. And I can't stand that I'm getting these sort of abusive emails from people who don't know anything at all. And, you know, they're just sitting behind their keyboard, and some of them are so dishonest. One of the emails we got says, I'm moving my dollar and my business elsewhere. And I thought, oh, that's weird. And we looked it up. That person's not even a customer. They're based over in the UK. Now that trick, it might work if you were a Woolworths or if you were another retailer who you suddenly got spooked and you thought that customers are leaving in droves. But when you actually look at it, first of all, they're a very, very small group that sort of seems a bit louder. When you go to some of these websites, they boast 12,000 emails sent in the last 24 hours. This is not a respectful dialogue. This is not a disagreement of opinion. This is bullying. This is harassment. This is obsessive behaviour. And I want to stand up and speak out for it because I know there's a lot of people who feel this way, certainly the huge numbers that listen to a radio program, which is why I advertise on it, who don't disagree with these people. And they're harassing private businesses and telling private businesses how to spend their hard-earned, and they have no right to do that. We have strong morals, we're doing fantastic work, we save lives, and I don't need to be lectured to by someone, you know, based on complete mythology.
But it can be impactful, this sort of activism, because someone who's not accustomed to getting suddenly hundreds or thousands of hateful emails can be spooked, and companies are spooked. We've seen now Jayco, whose demographic
mob
would be perfectly aligned with Alan Jones's audience, saying, "Oh no, we are taking out advertising. We can't condone these values." I mean, it is just madness that businesses still don't understand that the people behind this aren't speaking for mainstream Australia.
Right, and there's an amplifying effect because every time one of these groups manage to get a panicked email back from someone saying we're removing their business, they then use that to try and motivate others. So, you know, we got one saying your company should remove its advertising like a particular bank. And that, according to that bank, this is the quote, is a values-led organisation with a long history and culture of fairness and respect, which is why they're cancelling their advertising. Of course, that's not what the Banking Royal Commission said about them. So these are companies whose own values aren't particularly great, who are looking for some sort of, you know, positive
Well, it's
karma.
called virtue signalling and it's ridiculous. I'm also going to tell a little story out of school, which you're too modest to tell. You actually saved a person's life the other day, thanks to your company, Calamity Monitoring, and well done. That's the values of Calamity Monitoring. That's what the sort of person who does advertise and stands up to the bullies and advertises on Alan Jones, Sky and elsewhere. So that is where we should be putting our money. I tell outsiders, I told them, go for Garlows, go buy your Garlows, go buy your Harvey Norman, buy your Calamity Monitoring security outfits from Daniel as well. And that's it. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with lots more coming up. We've got Simon Heffer. We've got all sorts of things. Back in a tick.